Evening.
This
As you can
meeting
see,
is being
I'm standing
recorded.
in for our Mayor George Pandaleon, who is not able to be here tonight. So I want to welcome everybody to the Monday evening City Council meeting of November 2nd, excuse me, November 19th, 2020. And this will be a virtual session. So I'll be saying the Pledge of Allegiance for everybody. So I will start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. We're required as part of the governor's directives over the pandemic to indicate that in accordance with state statute, I, the mayor, have made a determination that it was not practical or prudent to schedule an in-person city council meeting because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is why this November 16th, excuse me, I said 19th, 16th, 2020 meeting is being held remotely. The first item on the agenda is one of our aldermen, Alderman Karas, who's going to talk to us about her marketing initiative. So, Alderman Karas, please go ahead.
Thank you, Alderman Morrison. I'm hoping that maybe the mayor is on our call if he's participating by listening. I wanted to thank him, first of all. It's a great privilege to manage the continuation of our city's marketing effort, and I can't thank him enough for asking me to assume this important role. Again, I'd like to acknowledge the foundational work and program implemented by former Alderman Prue Beidler, along with Communications Manager Susan Banks, and others who served on a working group. That initial phase has positioned us to take the next steps in shaping the Lake Forest brand and our brand marketing and our brand communications. We have a well-defined goal for our new marketing initiative. It is to further establish the reputation of Lake Forest as one of the best places to live at every stage of life. And we will achieve that aim by, yes, leveraging the city's celebrated history and architecture, natural beauty, exceptional public schools and recreational services, and our many enduring, much adored nonprofit organizations. Yet there's another big story. That story of what attracts people to Lake Forest beyond home value and our many special and unique attributes is also tangible and measurable, and a driving force behind families choosing to make Lake Forest their home. And at its core is how people feel living in Lake Forest and being part of a community that is kind, friendly, and caring and fun to be a part of. Slide, please. Thanks, Mike. To begin, we put in place a new marketing committee alongside a working group. Our group is composed of 8 extraordinarily talented people with a passion for Lake Forest and eagerly volunteer to take part in this meaningful work. We've met 3 times and have a regularly scheduled meeting every 3 weeks. We've also expanded our bandwidth with a creative partner and 2 student interns. They're college interns. One is focused on our digital marketing work, social media, and the other is a graphic artist who's attending SCAD, and she's been doing a wonderful job designing some pieces for us that you'll begin to see. The first thing, we identified several immediate objectives, and one of the first was to develop a digital marketing campaign, and it was a little bit challenging. We're in the process of this now because we're doing it simultaneously with a methodical approach to, again, establishing the essence, the core, and the essence of the Lake Forest brand. But the campaign is designed to really kind of ride this wave of all the incredible momentum we're experiencing in the real estate market in Lake Forest. And just to give you a little bit of color around that, I just was updated by Mark Pasquesi, who's serving on our committee. You probably know him. He is the head of Berkshire Hathaway Chicago. So there are, as of today, 484 total properties that have closed to date. Nearly 400 of those are single family homes. Mark believes that we are on track to close 450 by year end. And by year end last year, we had closed on 274 single-family homes, just to give you an idea of how extraordinary that change is in just 12 months. So the marketing campaign, we are hiring a specialist. They are a firm based in Chicago called MPI, and they focus on digital marketing work. And we've retained them to assist us in identifying where we should be placing our digital ads. So those ads are under development now. Again, our creative partner we're working with to make sure that those ads really reflect the community and can capture our audience. So in brand strategy and marketing, of course, it's sort of twofold. You want to know where to reach them and then how to attract them. So that marketing campaign, we hope will get underway in the next couple of weeks. Another important immediate objective, just unprecedented difficulties with getting people to shop in their store and to dine in, because that's just not a possibility right now, and to take out to sustain them. So we're working with the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Chamber of Commerce and taking out some ads in Forest and Bluff Magazine. Again, trying to be creative in determining ways that we can rally some community support for local businesses. I don't know if you've seen this URL, but this is a new URL, lakeforestlove.com. We've started to socialize in various pages. We're in the process of really building it out. It is designed to be a blog and a second Instagram for the city of Lake Forest, and it will highlight really what it suggests, what we love about living in Lake Forest, what we love about being part of the community. We have come to the realization that we can't rely on existing vehicles to tell the stories that we think are important in our community. So we are doing two things, and you'll see on the next page, but lakeforestlove.com is one of those efforts. And we're also going to redesign the dialogue, which you all are aware of. It's a part of the publication, and we're going to expand that so it encompasses a lot more content. That content for all of these various vehicles and platforms, we are going to develop a library of images that, again, really show the face of Lake Forest the way we'd like to present it, the way we want to be portrayed, and ultimately, of course, the perceptions that we want to shape of our community. This pop-up station is very exciting. It is in the works and will open on the 27th of November, the day after Thanksgiving. It is a temporary store, and it is designed to drive some traffic to the shopping district. It will feature about 14 nonprofit organizations, most of the larger ones in town and some of the smaller ones as well, and they will have branded merchandise. So the purpose of that store was to give them a platform or venue where they can raise their visibility and sell branded merchandise. We've also developed really, I think, a wonderful collection of limited edition Lake Forest branded merchandise. So we've got a lot of participation in that. Lake Forest High School National Honor Society students will be volunteering, and other adult volunteers from the nonprofits. This is a venture at the end, whatever net profit we receive will be distributed among those nonprofits who are participating in the pop-up. So I think it's actually really exciting. I hope you all stop by when it opens. We are going to continue to survey. We've been doing some very informal surveying, just in neighborhood survey, I call them, but we're going to do something that's a little bit more formalized in terms of electronic survey to a broader group of people, and then focus groups with a very clearly well-defined or identified group of people are really the individuals who interface with Lake Forest on a regular basis. And so we want to gather their impressions and make sure that we understand perspectives as we continue to do this work. Next slide, please. Thank you. So again, here's some of the work we're continuing to focus on right now. The focus groups we've just spoken about, Lake Forest Coalition. So through the Lake Forest Station, we've actually started to build out this coalition. The intention there is to have all of these organizations, collaborate in some way. So I think as soon as Lake Forest Station ends, which will be the second week or first week in January, then we will organize a meeting of all either board heads or executive directors, and have everybody meet on a maybe quarterly basis so we can share information and get to know each other, and collaborate and generate new ideas. Lake Forest Ambassadors is a new idea that we're pursuing. The intention there is to identify people who are interested in serving as ambassadors, for families who are interested in considering Lake Forest as a place to purchase a home and to live, raise their families. The ambassadors would answer questions, so it'd be sort of an objective person for prospective home buyers to have a conversation with about their experiences living in Lake Forest. We talked about the dialogue, redesign, and lastly is community events. And this, again, we're sort of in the planning phases of this. We'll be in the planning phases for some time until we can actually execute a community event again, hopefully sometime maybe next summer, next fall, whenever things become safe again. We would like to do at least one larger sized event on the east side of Lake Forest, one larger sized event on the west side of Lake Forest. We have festivals in mind. We have some other ideas in mind. So if you have any thoughts on that, please email me or text me. But we think that community events are something that are very attractive, that community members really love to be part of. So whether it's like a blueberry festival or strawberry festival or bike festival, we're going to explore various ideas and then get people involved to organize them. So I think, is that my last slide? Mike, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or you can reach me anytime and I'd be happy to talk to you about this work.
Jennifer, that was terrific. Let me open up to the council for comments, questions to Jennifer.
Jennifer, it's Alderman Weber. Quick question for you. With the company that you've paired up with in Chicago, are they potentially looking at other printed periodicals, magazines, or other ways to advertise in areas such as like different neighborhoods of Chicago or like the west suburbs? Just to get a sense. I mean, I think it's great to advertise in Lake Forest, but we're already here. So
no, 100%. I'm sorry. I understand your question, and it was me that I wasn't perfectly clear. The only reason we decided to take up full page advertisements in Forest and Bluff in November, December was specifically to support our business community, because we know this is a real great time of need. So we wanted to express that show of support. But in general, we don't think that there's a strong return on investment for print advertisements. That's not where we're going to put our dollars. We're going to put our dollars in social media and in digital advertising. So
yeah, it'd be great if there was a way to get into all of those different North Shore moms groups.
Yes.
I know I'm on many of them, and people were saying, oh, we're thinking about moving to XYZ. Is anybody in that neighborhood? And that's like a perfect way, like you're saying, and maybe those ambassadors would be people that would fit that role to immediately reply and say, hey, yes, I live in Whispering Oaks or Alaska Estates or wherever. So yes. Great work. It's really 100%. Exciting.
No, thanks. I'm excited. I felt really, again, just so excited to be part of this and to be pushing it forward and to be leading it with so many incredible people. But identify those blogs for me and shoot me a text.
I will.
Thanks.
Hi, Jennifer. This is Jim Preschlack. Thanks a lot for carrying on this work. Really appreciate it. And just kind of curious, have we sized a budget for this? I think I remember the Welcome Home budget annually, but I don't know that it was really big, and I'm just trying to figure out how much capital or how much budget we've put to work here, and if we think it's meaningful, and and I guess it's correlated to just what we think our overall success metrics are. If we're targeting people in the city that are looking for open space and great schools and a beautiful community, or if it's all around the suburbs and things. So just the first question is if you could just help with the budget, because I think we're going through a budgeting process right now. Do you feel comfortable that you have what you need to be successful? And should we talk about it as a team to think a little bit more strategically? And the second question is a bit more tactical, but I've been getting a lot of inquiries from non-for-profits that I've supported over the years. And they've done a really, really, really nice job of getting testimonials in short vignettes of video. And there's a lot of online apps. One is called Talkback Time, where you could basically, you know, send a quick link and an ask to, you know, the last 100 people that have bought homes in Lake Forest, and you know, you're getting 30-second, 60-second testimonials, and you know, you're getting a lot of good B-roll for things that then, you know, the agency could intertwine into a digital strategy. And you know, these people are just arrived, you know, they just paid the real estate transfer tax. You know, we probably have some conduits into real estate agents, but just kind of wondering if we can get that voice, because they basically just made the decision. They just got here. And I know you know, the focus groups are great, but you know, getting somebody on video and actually, you know, seeing their face light up and tell the story about why they bought a house in Lake Forest is huge. It's massive, and it's so easy and low cost to do it. And I just kind of wonder if the team's talked about any of that enablement as part of the scope of the work you're doing.
Well, thank you. I'm going to start with the last question first, because I couldn't agree with you more. That's really the objective, is to rather than, you know, feature the physical assets that we have in town, the lakefront and the open lands, which are all very important. It's really the people. It's really, you know, seeing, like you said, the expressions, the emotions of the people who are living here and loving their life here. And we're going to do that through imagery, through photography and video. I'm a photographer, so I've already started to develop a collection of those images for a library. I'm friends with a number of photographers who also have a collection of those. So we are going to tell our stories through imagery. As far as video, I'm not familiar with this Talkback Time media or you know, online program, but I will take a look at it. I don't know if we have, you know, this sort of the brand identity of Lake Forest is very important to those who are working on this project. So we want to make sure that we utilize video that really, you know, really shows, you know, people in their best light. So we are going to utilize video. We've been in discussions with the head of new media over at the high school. They have a lot of students. Their program is probably one of the best in any high school across the nation. Steve Douglas is an expert in this area. So, you know, we definitely plan on utilizing video to help tell our stories. So you know, again, I couldn't agree with you more in that respect. Now, how are we going to utilize them? I think we're going to utilize this new blog for sure. You know, we have a new mobile app that Jim Shaw he's already showed me a little bit of it. We're going to utilize that, and we can push out a lot of video through that mobile app. So I think in a variety of ways, we'll start utilizing video. Also on, you know, whatever these, you know, the different influencer sites that we think matter to us and reach our audience, we'll definitely reach them. As far as budget goes, I'm getting everybody to do everything for nothing, so we don't need a penny.
Good for you.
Jim's not laughing. You know, we have a modest budget, and both the mayor and the city manager have given me their assurance that, you know, if we need to expand that budget to, you know, really achieve the goals that we've set out for this first calendar year, that we would have their support, and I would turn to you and tell you what we need additional dollars for. Right now, we have a budget that is sufficient to support the work. Again, our volunteers are volunteering their time. Some of the others who are involved, our interns they're doing this work for credit, so they're non-paid interns. But believe me, they're professional level ability. So it's just right now, I think that we're you know, the dialogue, of course, the redesign of that will utilize some of our dollars, and you know, the MPI, the digital marketing stuff. But as far as the design work, I think we're really trying to do a lot of that in-house, directed. It's work that I've done throughout my 25-year career. So I have expertise and experience in this area. So you know, I don't mind leading this charge whatsoever. So anyway, we're really trying to stay within a budget. And if we need to expand it to achieve our goals, then we'll come to council for additional funds.
I have a
answer
couple of
questions.
questions, Jennifer. First of all, when you open up a blog, isn't that sort of like Facebook? Doesn't someone need to monitor that and monitor the posts and possibly respond to some of them? And who is going to do that?
Well, the blog, actually, we can manage the blog, and we can either decide to have it interactive, or we can decide not to have it interactive. And I think to start, we will not have it be interactive at all. If we do decide to make it interactive, then there'll be sort of a staging area. So if someone wants to make a suggestion or post something, again, I'm not sure we'll do this, but if we chose to, then we'd actually have that in a staging area where it can be reviewed before it's published and viewed publicly.
But we still are on Facebook, right?
No, the blog is not going to be, I don't know if, I mean, the city obviously has a Facebook page, but Lake Forest Love will not be on Facebook. Lake Forest Love is actually going to be a blog that's its independent URL. You'll be able to reach it through both this new mobile app and the new Lake Forest website that will launch. But anyway, it is going to live independently, so it's not part of Facebook.
And then the other question that I had, and I don't know how this magically works, but if I click on a website, then I get a whole ribbon for days of whatever it was that I clicked on. So
It's magic, magic.
Yeah, well, so there must be algorithms out there that can pick up people who do a search for Lake Forest or, so do we have a way of harnessing that technology, number one? Number two, I think there's a wealth of information to be gleaned from our local realtors. And can we also sort of tap into some of that with people who have contacted them interested in Lake Forest? And can they then start to get ribbons on the side of their Gmail saying, here's Lake Forest, and key into some of these great dialogues that you're going to have, and photos and testimonials. So I guess I'm hoping that we're savvy enough to have technology that can capture some of those clicks, so that we're on their ribbon somehow.
Yeah, so you're referring, and again, I'm not that tech savvy in all of this, but I do know enough, and I know that the metadata or meta tagging is critical in identifying where people are going, the click-through patterns, and also cookies. So you probably, when you're on a website or on your phone, something will pop up and say, ask you to accept that cookies are going to be placed on your, to track your pattern on where you go. So going to support us through that process. As far as the real estate, we have two people, Susan Amory, who is a family friend of the Morrises, and Mark Pasquazi, who are both active real estate and Susan Amory is part of At Properties. So they have been an enormous resource in sharing with us some of the conversations they've had with home buyers, recent home buyers, and those who have looked at Lake Forest and opted for different communities. So invaluable information from the real estate individuals. So we will definitely mine that data.
Right, but I'm talking more about getting links to people who have clicked on Lake Forest, or clicked on a home in Lake Forest through Zillow, or Trulia, or whatever that is, that, can we trace some of that and then start to push some information about Lake Forest to those individuals?
And that's the expertise of MPI, this firm that we are retaining. That's exactly what they do. I will send you the link, and you can look at the firm's capabilities. We're hiring them specifically to take on that role for us. So,
Thank
yeah.
you. I think it's an exciting program, and thank you for all the work you're putting into this and sharing your talent with the city. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Jim had an earlier point too on how the measurables and, how are we going to really assess return on investment. And certainly in the digital marketing world, we can very carefully track, where people are going and how successful those digital ads, if they're working or not, and where they go, if they, go to the City of Lake Forest website, if they go to Lake Forest Love, and then, their patterns through, through those areas. So, it's much harder to track the return on a print ad, which is why we're going to stay away from those. So, and then we'll have to do surveys. We'll have to, we'll have to measure how successful we'll have to measure our results just by having conversations with people by the target markets. Any other questions?
Well, thank you, Jennifer. That's terrific. We'll look forward to your updates as the months go by here. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right, we're going to move on. Each month we have a update from our Director of Finance, Holub, on what's going on with the pandemic in our city finances. So Director Holub, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Morris and City Council members. You have seen this slideshow for a while now, so we have stripped it down a little bit just to emphasize those things that have changed since the last presentation, October 5th. I would note that we will continue to have the comprehensive presentation on the website should any of our residents want to go and see more of the background detail that we've taken out for this one. But focusing on some of the key items that we're watching for budget impacts related to COVID-19. First is municipal sales tax. We continue to exceed our budget year to date. This chart in the middle shows as of October 31st, or actually for municipal sales tax as of November 30th, the year to date number for fiscal year 20, the original budget for fiscal year 21, the revised and approved budget for FY21 year to date. And then you can see as of November 30th, we've received about $587,000 in municipal sales tax revenue compared to a budget of $415,000. So that does continue to trend in a positive direction for us. I had mentioned at a previous session that the sales tax had pretty much rebounded to current levels. I would just note that in November, we're receiving municipal sales tax for August sales, and that actually month to month against prior year was down 23%. So we'll continue to track each month, but overall, this is positive for the city's budget. The next revenue that we're watching is income tax revenue. And as we've discussed in previous months, this continues to exceed our budget projections quite significantly. In this chart, I've actually added 2 years of actual year-to-date information. So FY19 in dark blue, FY20 in a lighter blue. Original budget, modified budget, we expected to take a significant loss of income tax revenue immediately after the stay-at-home order. But due to the fact that unemployment compensation, including the supplement through the federal COVID-19 stimulus, is taxable in Illinois. So we are receiving revenues on that, that compensation as well. So you can see just year to date how the revenue is trending of 1.1 million compared to a budget of about 400,000. So again, very good experience so far. Turning away from the general fund and looking at the Park and Recreation Fund. As you know, the Park and Recreation Fund is divided into two portions, Park and Forestry on the left side and recreation programs in the middle. So on the Park and Forestry side, this is generally stable compared to last year. You see last year, year-to-date numbers as of October 31st. The budget here is the full year budget for FY21. And then you can see the year-to-date actual this year as of October 31st, trending very similar to last year. I would note that the reduction in revenue is related to property taxes, and that is associated with the deferral of property taxes with the option of taxpayers spreading their property taxes over 4 installment dates instead of 2. The final installment date is early in November, so we should see this timing issue on property taxes rectified as of the November 30th data. The segment in the middle is the recreation program. So we anticipated significant impacts on recreation programming, both revenues and expenses. So again, you can see the prior year year-to-date figures as of October 31st compared to the current year. Generally though, this is positive compared to what we expected in the budget. So while they do have a year-to-date deficit of 1.3 million compared to about 843,000 last year, given the extent of impact on summer and fall programming, we consider this a win and definitely better compared to the budget. And then the total fund is on the right here. And so you can see how that with the two portions of the fund budget combined. Turning then to the Deerpark Path Golf Course Fund, quite a remarkable story. We know this. You know, we had budgeted in FY21 for the course to be closed until June 1st. They were able to open with restrictions on May 1st. And when you compare actually the results year to date, now these are as of September 30th because we have a 1-month lag on data from Kemper. But you can see that, you know, the year to date for the current year is outperforming last year from a revenue standpoint. So they have done a fantastic job. Weather has helped this year compared to last year. And so the golf course fund looks fantastic. The Capital Improvement Fund, we're really focused on revenues here in the Capital Improvement Fund and potential impacts. So you've got the prior year budget and year-to-date actual numbers here for fiscal year 20, and then the same data for fiscal year 21. Property tax, again, is going to be impacted by the deferral, and we should see that number back up at the end of November. Home rule sales tax is trending just slightly better than what we had projected in the budget. And again, year-to-year comparisons here are not going to be comparable because the second 0.5% home rule sales tax that took effect July 1st, 2019 is what is reflected here. So we did not have a full year of data last year. Real estate transfer tax, as Alderman Karas mentioned, you know, continues to be very strong. We've already exceeded the year budget, the annual budget for real estate transfer tax, and we do have 2 commercial transactions that have, you know, given us about $400,000 in one-time revenue there with Comscott Park Apartments and one of the buildings in the Conway Park office park. Grants and contributions are as projected. Other revenues are not impacted by COVID-19. And then the general fund transfer is just 1/12 of the budget each month. Looking now at the citywide summary, so you can kind of see in a dashboard format where we stand on some of the key items that we're looking at. You can see everything is positive. With the exception of recreation program fees trending still below budget as of October 31st. And then motor fuel tax is a revenue that we did not adjust for the budget, for the FY21 budget. But we were monitoring it closely to see what kind of impact there would be with workers not commuting because they're working from home. But you can see even in a non-COVID-19 impacted budget, it is running pretty much on target with budget projections. And then of course the Lake County coronavirus relief funds of $568,000. Our second submittal is still with Lake County being processed, and that's additional funding for both the library and the city. And then finally, just an update on the local business grant program. This was the sales tax based program that was approved by the council in April. We are up to 22 applicants. The last time we provided you a summary, we were at 17. And we are beginning to see those requests for payments come in. So you can see that we have currently awarded $40,500 in grants, paid out $17,000, but those are coming in several a week at this point for payment requests. And that is all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Alderman Notes.
Thanks very much, Elizabeth, for that great update. With the ramp up in requests for the grants, has anything been done differently that helps spur that along?
So we did a mailing about a month ago. I think it was just maybe the second week of October. We sent it to about 70 businesses that that sales tax data indicated that it would be worth their effort and worth the paperwork of going through and applying for a grant. So we did do that mailing. And so I think that generated a few additional applications for people who may not have been in the chamber, so they weren't getting the chamber notifications, or maybe for some other reason just weren't aware of the program.
And Alderman Notes, I would note too, you know, I think we've probably all been a little surprised that there hasn't been a stronger interest in the program, particularly in sort of the second phase of the stimulus program that the council adopted about a month ago. I know Community Development Director Kathy Zerniak is in regular communication with a lot of the businesses where we thought there was a lot of applicability to the program and we have benefit. I don't know if we could pull Kathy up. Maybe she could provide just a couple thoughts and perspectives as to how those conversations are going and some of the feedback she's receiving.
Thank you.
Sure. I think I am live now. You can hear me. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Morris, members of the council. What we're hearing from many businesses is almost a bit of a wait and see attitude. They very much appreciate the council's offer. My sense is once we get into the new year, we're going to see more of these requests. Keep in mind that the second incentive package, part of that was a 50-50 split on things like tents or heaters or carryout boxes. And my sense is that people are just waiting right now, fearful of a complete shutdown. But I do think because we have made this offer through the end of this fiscal year, I expect we're going to see more activity as we get a bit more certainty about what happens after the next couple months.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay. I guess I would just remind the council that that's pretty impressive news that Director Hollow is delivering in terms of where we are today. But I think, as we know, there's going to be some difficult times in the next 2 to 4 months getting through the winter with this pandemic. So keep our fingers crossed that we can get through that in good shape. So thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
Judd,
Sure.
I'm sorry, if I could just ask Kathy to follow up on one comment she made. Kathy, you were talking about local businesses talking to you about ways that we can help. I want to be clear that the grant monies that Elizabeth is talking about has nothing to do with that aspect of what the city is looking to try and help where we can, correct?
We're offering that as a component of, we're essentially inviting businesses to submit proposals to us, whether it's 50-50 share, cost share, whether it's applying for the business grant program, whether it's requesting a reduction or waiver in some annual fees. We're really inviting them to be creative, and our message to them has been that we will be open to all ideas. I believe that's the direction we received from the City Council.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on. I have a really awesome announcement to make. I want to tell you that a 21-year-old resident, Sydney Barber, who's a naval cadet, has been selected as the brigade commander at the United States Naval Academy. So she will lead the training and operations of over 4,500 midshipmen next spring until she graduates with a degree in mechanical engineering. So it's our heartiest congratulations are extended to Ms. Barber and her family. This is really a very proud moment for our community. So well done to Sydney and to the U.S. Naval Academy. Having been in the Navy, that's a good thing. So thank you very much. That's great news. And then just to remind everybody who's maybe listening in, we have a Q&A session for for residents to address the council. There's also a Q&A button on the screen that you can use. So that'll be coming up in a little bit. We'll turn now to comments by the city manager. And let me say, for our Monday, November 16th meeting, I invite Jason to take the floor.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone, both on the call and at home. I have two presentations that I'm happy to introduce here. We have some exciting new initiatives that are finally nearing the finish line. So I'm in a minute going to introduce both Assistant City Manager Mike Strong to provide an update on the city's new website project, and Jim Shaw, Director of Innovation and Technology, to provide a preview of the new dedicated mobile app that we'll be launching soon, and that was referenced by Alderman Karas in her presentation. Before I turn it over to them, I just want to say how excited I am to see both of these projects coming to fruition, and I'm incredibly appreciative of the effort of staff in getting us to this point. And so, you know, the new platforms that we'll be rolling out here, I think, first and foremost, reflect our understanding in the change in how people access and receive information in today's day and age. Really, the days of people sitting on a desktop and searching around for information are increasingly behind us. And so these platforms, you know, in combination with one another, will certainly enhance the customer experience for those engaging in business with the city. Certainly will improve our transaction processes. It will also increase transparency and access to information. And importantly, as Alderman Karas referenced, and I know is near and dear to her heart and others, it creates a vital tool for us to proactively share information with the public through push communications, rather than requiring individuals to proactively seek out the information from us. And so I'm gonna not steal any of their thunder, because these two gentlemen have done a lot of work to get us to this point. But I will first introduce, again, Jim Shaw, who will provide a high-level overview of the dedicated city app project and highlight some of the real exciting features that it has. And when he's done, then I'll ask Mike Strong to provide a sneak peek at the city's new website. So, Jim?
Thank you, Jason. I'll just need 1 second or so to get started and get set up here. So first, I'd like to say good evening to Chairman Morris and the members of the City Council. And tonight, we'd like to take the opportunity to demonstrate this application and answer any questions you might have. So as Jason mentioned, there are several reasons for the adoption of a mobile application. I think we recognize that it is the device of choice. People are routinely on the go, and they need access to information and transactions. And the new functionality of the platforms greatly exceed the traditional PC. So with GPS and push and wallet and payment capabilities, there's a lot more that we can do to improve the citizen experience. So with that in mind, we have developed an iOS Android application that will be available free of charge in both the Google and Apple app stores. So tonight, we're going to take a look at the prototype, and hopefully it'll provide you a better understanding of what we're trying to achieve. So can you see my screen currently?
Yep.
So I'm sharing my iPhone. This is the first time we've done this, so I got to thank Joe. This is, we went through some hoops to get here, but it's working great, I think. Now, let me go ahead and start the app. The app is on the screen on the top left up here. You'll recognize the traditional Lake Forest tree. Now, what we're proposing, the title of the application is to be Lake Forest Now. So that's how it would be known in both the Apple and Google stores. And what we were trying to achieve as far as look and feel was to create a menu layout that provided quick and easy access to different categories, that were broken out in meaningful ways. And we also wanted an application that could be controlled and customized by the user. So we're going to get into a little of that a bit here. Now, starting on the top line up here, just to quickly explain some of the icons, you'll see the traditional, the Facebook, the Twitter, Instagram. You also see the globe. The globe I will select right now. That represents access to our current website. So that will always be present. And if people have to exit the application to go to the comprehensive website, that is available to them. Okay. Now I mentioned customization. It's very important that we want the user to be able to control what they see on this landing page or the main menu. So I'm going to select the configuration icon on the bottom right, and it'll take me to a layout page. This is where I select which icons or which categories I want to show on the main menu, and also select which categories I want to receive push communications. So the first question is, how would the user know this? So once the app is downloaded, and the first time in, the user will encounter a tutorial that looks like this. So welcome to the City of Lake Forest. App provides, blah, blah, blah. It'll show them the icon for the configuration. It'll explain the bookmark process, or how they toggle on and toggle off the different categories. It'll also explain the notification process and how they can select or deselect what areas they'd like to receive communications. So the app's always available to them. It's at the question mark in the top right. But for example, if I wanted to toggle off a couple of the first two, leadership and where I live, you'll notice I go to the front page and they're no longer present. So it gives the user an easy way to choose and select what categories and what push communication areas they're interested in. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about push communications. I think, push communications, just to talk about it briefly, it's a notification that you'll receive on your phone, typically in the banner area or the upper portion of the screen. Many applications are using them in today's world. It's real similar to a one-way text message. It can include information, also can include links that you can link to. So we are an interesting organization, and we have a number of diverse groups, diverse as far as activities and demographics. And I think push lends itself to that, in that we can address these groups separately, whether it be sports or Croya or senior activities or the art center, people that like to visit the beach or the golf course. We can address them separately with separate communications driven by the department responsible for those areas. And so we think it's a really good fit. Now, how we would administer this, I think we foresee each of the departments having the capability of sending messages that they're responsible for. So they would select the frequency. There would be no bureaucracy. They'd be able to create and send as needed. Okay. So we think there's a lot of potential here, and there'll be more to come there. Let's go back to the main menu, and we'll look at a few of these links. I'm not going to run through all of these, but we'll run through a few just to give you an idea. Now, the first one I'm going to select is Report a Problem. This is our new citizen request application. It's the second one down on the left, and it's going to go live with the new mobile app. So I'll go ahead and do a quick request, give you a sense of how it works from the mobile interface. Now, there also will be an interface on the website, and there will also be our internal staff will also do something very similar to answer phone calls and record requests or problems. So real quick, this uses a GPS. So this is another feature of the phone. I can go ahead and say, I'm located currently in MS. And I can go ahead and initiate a new request. And I'm going to probably just pick the traditional pothole request. So I'll locate it on the street. It then provides me a number of categories with request or problem reporting subject matter. So I'm going to go down to streets. And I'll select pothole. And if I wanted to take an image of that pothole, I'm going to go ahead right now and take a photo. I'm going to use that photo. I took a picture of just a table and a plant. And I can make any comments that I might want to make here to the city that further explains the problem. And I'll confirm details. And I can select if I want to do this as an anonymous user or as a registered user that wants feedback and an understanding when the problem's closed. For this example, I will simply pick a guest ID and submit. Now, the beautiful part of this application, and it's complete. The beautiful part of this application is once I submit, it goes directly to the responsible manager or team that's working that category of problem. And they have direct access, real-time access in the field via their phones and tablets to their work queues. So there's a big plus there. Now, there's a few other things that we think will be important here. One, it'll provide a lot of metrics and reporting information regarding volumes and elements like time to resolve, which we really haven't had to date. We were largely a paper and pencil type operation, but this will give us a lot more reporting and a better understanding as far as resources required and the work effort. So let's look at a few other links while we're here. So I'm going to select where I live. This is an application from our GIS system. And I'll go ahead and select an address. So this gives information regarding local, their location, their address, their representation. It'll also provide refuse, that type of information. So if they're new to the area, it provides that as a starting point. Okay. Let's try another link down here. I put a few functions under golf. So if I wanted to schedule a tee time, I can go ahead and say, let's schedule tee time for Thursday. Let me try the right day here. Thursday, and it'll give you my options and the cost involved, okay? If I wanted to see what was available at the restaurant there, here's a full menu. Okay, if I wanted gift certificates, I could buy gift certificates online. So it gives you an idea of the functionality involved and what's available. We also have the category mobile payments. So again, water or citations or in-city invoices. Here's an example of the water payment, online, mobile. So again, just an example to show you some of the functionality. Let's go to beach. Beach is an interesting area. I think it has a lot of potential. So we have the standard beach information from the website. We also have marine forecasts for the boaters. If they're interested in what the latest weather forecast is, that's coming in, as well as the Wilmette and the Waukegan buoy information. Now I want to look at the top right and talk about that one. It's called Current Utilization. And it's a project that we have underway. We're looking at technology. And what we're trying to accomplish here is providing a utilization number, real-time utilization number back to the website and this application that will give people a sense of how much parking is available at the beach. So we avoid the disappointments. They avoid people going to the beach, but there's no parking. They get a better idea of the count. They get a better idea of the beach utilization. So they know if it's 20% or 80% or 100%. So that's something we expect to have hopefully at the opening of the season. So let's look at a few more. One of the most popular elements of our current website, believe it or not, is the police blotter. So I'll go ahead and open up the police blotter just briefly and show you how it's displayed on the mobile. And again, it's according to Google Analytics, a very popular site. Now, I'll also select recreation and sports. Field status is very important to a number of parents, and they always want to know who's playing and who's not. And that really gives us field conditions for all of our parks. Now I want to highlight something. I'm going to select the West Park Ice Rink. And I'm going to show you just another one of the features. If I'm new or don't understand where it is, I can go ahead and actually route to that. And it'll show me the directions from MS to that location. Okay. So that gives you, again, the idea of the routing, the GPS, and what's available on the mobile or tablet. Okay. Now, there's a few more that we just added today, and just for grins and the demonstration. We do have an icon for bike paths. Oh, this is the Lake County bike path. It'll also use GPS to locate your position, and you'll get a better view of what's available. Again, there I am at the MS Center. Okay. So, and one more I really want to mention. It's not ready yet, but it's listed on the menu here. And you'll see it's called Snowplow Tracker. And what this will provide, and we're currently installing it, but what it'll provide the citizens a top-down view, a map view of the status of snow removal. So it'll show all the streets and roads. There'll be a color-coded status associated with snow activities. For example, if your road hasn't been plowed in 24 hours, it's going to be red. If it's plowed within the last 2 hours, it's green. And there's a variety of colors between. Now, we'll also be able to view the number of vehicles involved in a location and their movement. So it's an interesting app. Now, we think it's going to provide a lot of benefit for our internal management as well. So they're going to be able to tell and notice where the voids are, where assistance is needed. There's also other information that comes back from the vehicles that is beneficial to management. So it's a really neat app, and we expect that to be available when we go live. So now one of the questions that you might have is, how are we going to understand access and what's popular and what's not? So with this application, everything will be tracked through Google Analytics. So we'll have a thorough understanding of what links are selected, the number of times they're selected over a varied time period. So now what we really think is, at this point in time, this is a good foundation, because I don't think we're done. We still have other items of functionality we'd like to add to this. For example, next year, I think we want to look at Apple and Google wallets, look at the payment process and access through those functionalities, and it would be built on top of this. So now, as far as what's left to do before we go live, we have to build some meaningful content. This is a starting point right now, but we need to go back, and we're going to meet with the stakeholders, meet with the departments, garner a better understanding of their user groups and what content would be useful to them. So, and then it's a matter of developing a launch strategy, marketing strategy. And I think our timetable, as far as what we're looking at, we would have an application available for soft launch. When I say soft launch, the application would be in both Google and Apple stores, but it would not be publicized. And I think our thought process, we would have that at that state toward the end of December. And then in early January, we would be ready to go live and publicize the application. So that's really just a brief presentation, but be happy to answer any questions.
That's quite a presentation. That's awesome. Questions from the council?
If I could ask a question, yes, to add to that, very impressive. You certainly have a lot of wonderful features and functions that you've shared with us tonight. The one question I have is there a question of any strain on what I'll call personnel resources to provide the content, to provide the information that you're looking to put in here, to provide the support needed to keep it current, keep it correct, and obviously the need to respond.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Are you looking for improvements in the efficiency of the process that would offset that?
That's a real good question. And let me explain the application and how it works. This application really doesn't host anything internally unto itself. It's an aggregator, meaning we're going to take application services from other existing servers and bring them into this app, okay? So there's no additional work. We're not doing anything for any one of these particular applications. They're available through other means. And this application simply aggregates what's important as far as information or transactions and what's relevant to the Lake Forest resident and tries to bring it into one spot. So some of these services run internally, some run externally, some run with partners. So it's a variety, but it's not something that we would maintain. We need to ensure that the links stay fresh and that are good, but otherwise that information already exists. Does that answer your question, Alderman Bushman?
Yeah, let me ask it, May, again. Are you comfortable that the resources, now you say the information is there, but it's not obviously in the same format that you're looking to put it out here. And you did cover a couple things like the beach and the parking lot, things you are working on. So it comes back to a question from what you view as the need to get information from the different departments and the need for the departments to keep the information, as you say, fresh, current, correct, and to respond to that. You're comfortable that we're not unduly taxing the resources, the personnel resources we have?
Yes, I think we're very comfortable in that regard.
And I'll jump in too, just to note that, I think in many instances, we're hopeful that this will actually provide benefit to personnel resources. And I think of, some of the small examples just that Jim's already walked through, having push notifications go out to parents of kids in athletic leagues about field closures by being able to push out a single message rather than dealing with dozens of calls that come in, and having small examples like that replicated throughout the organization. I think it'll actually lessen burdens on staff in the long run. I think similarly, the feature for the citizen request management by allowing residents to initiate those requests and have them route directly to field staff actually saves a lot of steps that we were otherwise, or at least historically, have been undertaking. And so I think there are real opportunities to actually, streamline processes for staff rather than burdening them with additional work. And again, I'll just note that we're in the service industry here, so thinking through ways in which we can engage and interact with our customer base such that they are is it's our job, and that's what we're here for. And so I really think it's a win-win. I think there will be a lot of internal efficiencies, but I also think, again, it'll be a huge benefit to the residents and the business community and how they interact with us.
Thank you, and looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Jim Preschlack. I'll just piggyback on that. I mean, I thank you, Jim and Joe, for all the hard work. I mean, this is really us, getting into using technology strategically, to provide better service and to improve efficiencies internally. And a mobile app is, it's part and parcel to anybody that is active and on the go from a business perspective. Maybe 50 and under. I mean, it's hard for maybe in the 80s to get to grips with a mobile app, but there's more texting going on, and this is just ubiquitous technology, and it's a no-brainer. And I just really thankful that through Jason's leadership, we were able to get Jim Shaw to join us just before COVID. And, you know, in addition to getting us all on Zoom, I mean, he's really spent some time absorbing the culture of our city and getting to meet the department heads in a challenging environment because, you know, it's not easy to do that in the middle of a pandemic. And then to push along this program and some other things he's working on, I think it's a real testament, you know, to his ability and creativity and obviously the support of all the staff. But, you know, if we soft open this and we communicate it, you know, we provide tutorials and training and some video and some kind of mayor message to people that may be a little bit more reluctant to embrace this tech. You know, this is going to go a long way. And I think self-service, customer self-service and kind of mobile and web-based apps are ubiquitous in the business world. And this is just a logical extension of that. So this is just great. And it'll obviously help with what Jennifer's doing. So I really applaud Jim and his efforts. You know, as a city, we have probably underinvested in technology historically. I met with Jim a little bit ago and I'm like, gosh, you know, like as a percentage of revenue, like what is our IT budget, not just for maintain, but to innovate, you know? And I think there'll be pockets of more innovation that we need to think about strategically as a council to change paradigms and how we operate as a city, because we're going to be asked to do more with less, or maybe the same with less as the state goes and other things. So I just think we all need to get our heads around using technology in strategic ways to improve better customer service or drive efficiencies. And I'm really, really thankful that Jim joined the squad. And this is just the first of many things to come. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add, Jim and Jason and everyone who's been involved with this. This is something that we've needed for a long time, and it's wonderful to see it finally coming to fruition. So thank you. I do have a couple of questions and comments. First of all, I assume that we're going to be able to harvest the email addresses for people who have already signed up for push notifications from, say, the rec center or certain departments of the city. Would that be the case?
Well, we have a number of email addresses and inventories, and those are in place. Now, with this application, it doesn't require a login, and we purposely made it that way. We wanted something that provided easy access. And so it does not require a login. We will have device identification, which is important. And we will utilize those email lists as a marketing tool to get this application out in the real world. So, and as this application matures, there are sub-applications within this list that might require an email registration. And if those are internal systems, we will have access to those email addresses as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was just wondering if I have to re-sign up for my emails from the rec center or something like that. And it sounds like I'll still get the emails from
Correct.
them, but I'll have to maybe do, you know, just push one of these buttons and certainly do the app in order to get it on my phone, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I know we've talked a lot about ensuring, you know, we have a sort of a multi-layered approach to our communication. So individual departments, certainly the city at large, still will have communications where we deliberately try to cast a wide net, and we intend for it to be distributed community-wide. And so those emails will certainly continue. This just gives us the opportunity to more narrowly target specific subsets within the community. So, you know, to some of the features that Jim already showed, weather conditions, wind conditions at the beach may not be of interest to everybody, but to those who are engaged in the sailing program, it's remarkably useful information to have. So this just really allows us to capture, to do both, to really, again, to communicate to a broader audience where needed, but also to much more selectively target smaller and narrower audiences where we have that information as well.
And now I'd like to just put on my environmental sustainability app. When you scroll down on these icons, I was looking for the recycle icon, and there it was. So thank you very much. But I'm wondering if maybe we could do something, you know, like we have in the dialogue that says Lake Forest Green, because there are other initiatives going on in the city that residents may be interested in, such as community solar. I mean, that might be an icon unto itself.
Right.
People can get information on that. There's a new, through planning and development, there's a new initiative to lower license fees for solar and geothermal energy initiatives. So I don't know whether we put that all under one heading of Lake Forest Green or do separate icons for them, but I would like to see those included somehow as icons organized in some way on this app. So that's my plug for
Yeah, I think
sustainability.
that's a great idea. And the next 30 days or so, we'll be involved in kind of building that content for this menu. So, and I'm sure those will come up and we'll get those included.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Jim. That's terrific.
Great, thank you, Jim. And with that, I will now turn it over to Mike Strong to give, again, a sneak peek at the city's new website.
Thanks, Manager Wishaw. Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I am very excited to follow up that presentation with just a quick update and first look at the city's redesigned website. As you know, this past May, we engaged in a 4-year contract with Revise for website redesign and web hosting services. Since that time, we've been working behind the scenes on the project. We have established a core working group to work closely with their team on this, and it's made up, well represented, made up of members of various operating departments, including Public Works, Community Development, Parks, Recreation, Finance, Police, Fire, Innovation, Technology, and the Office of the City Manager. Work that we've completed to date include a final design concept, which we'll walk through here shortly, and construction of a site map and navigation. So with tonight, I'll be providing a first look. It's going to include a visual model, an example. The website, the responsive sites and functionality is still being developed by Revise. And so we'll look forward to looking through that. I just want to mention, though, you know, that as I said back in May, you know, the pandemic really hasn't changed the aim of this project. You know, we were looking forward to a website serving as a greater engagement platform that's intuitive to use, dynamic, that's accessible to the various stakeholder groups we serve. Our vision was then and still remains that this site will guide visitors to learn more about the Lake Forest community. It will encourage them to learn about and interact with our customer service departments and empower us to promote good governance. So this will remain a resource for residents, job seekers, businesses, and even those interested in making Lake Forest their home. Hopefully we will achieve that with the design, along with these additional tools that Jim and his staff have helped create. So with that context in mind, I'm going to hop off and share my screen. All right, great. So starting, as you can see, here is our existing city website. And as we hop over to the website redesign, just with sort of that picture in mind, I'd like to walk through some of the details of our new design layout. So starting upon the landing page, we will immediately view this hero image in the background. This is going to begin all of our users' experience to the new website. This will fade into different options. There's a main search feature in the middle of the screen to, again, make accessibility and information at the forefront. The main site at the top, the site navigation will be laid out at the top. This hierarchical organization is just a consistent best practice that we've seen and used, and we'll continue to use that. Below the hero image and landing screen, oh, and I should also mention too, well, weather information has been very important and something that a lot of people ask. So we'll make sure that's available as well on the website, as well as accessibility. A major goal and value that we have been looking to enhance with this design has been accessibility. This is the sort of universal icon for accessibility and can make the language, the font, the color accessible for a variety of stakeholders. So below this main landing page, we come across the featured actions. So quick links are available. Will take users to quickly navigate through important site information. These are all customizable. And so as Jim shared on the mobile app, we foresee duplicating a lot of those actions or calls for actions to make sure that they're consistent amongst the two platforms. We'll also be able to scroll through these, and we'll be able to swap these out depending on the season, depending on the month, you know, and what may be happening within the city. Following the Action Center will be news and announcements. We have highlighted 3 stories here. You can access more stories. You know, and really this is about providing access to news and information, news articles, important announcements that we may need to highlight. Again, all content and images are customizable here as they are on our existing page. That will be followed by a city calendar. This is a revised view of the calendar showing both the months of the date as well as upcoming calendar appointments. This will be a bit more user-friendly to view on a desktop or iPad, and has mimicked a bit of the calendar icon. Following that, we've included a widget to sign up for the newsletter. So that will be more prominent on the home page, so that users and visitors can more actively sign up as well. As we go on, again, in terms of enhancing our social media presence, we've also incorporated or have the ability to incorporate various social media widgets. So Facebook, Twitter, specifically, users can share, like, and actually engage with the post right off the city's homepage, or go right to the post and that information. They can toggle between news sources and, of course, departments. We'll have additional resources at the bottom, followed by, you know, a footer and news sections. So that is just a quick sneak preview of a redesigned homepage. The other items that we'll talk a little bit about include the menu. You know, one of the areas of opportunity we had was really improving the drop-down menu structure, making this a bit more easy to view, legible, readable. And this mega menu structure will actually create, it sort of enables a user to see the options without having to follow and trace steps for those. So this is an enhancement, as well as including an image that's all available as well. Once you get into a department page, this is what that, you know, sort of would look like. It mimics the home page, but we start to see a bit more customization that's available. So as we said, the police department, you know, will be able to swap out the hero image here, add in a couple others, but we'll also be able to swap out these quick links. You know, the police blotter might have its own quick link. Our community development department might have building permits and building inspections or code enforcement. Finance might have utility billing, transparency reports, or OpenGov portal. So really being able to customize this at the interior page within the departments is a major benefit that will be able to maintain the integrity of the design, but then also give some flexibility to departments to customize content that may be relevant and important to them. And then finally, we do have the ability to enhance our homepage with alert functionality. Not something we've used a lot of, but you know, certainly in the days of and current times of working through a pandemic, or with some upcoming construction projects, we might have traffic alerts. So this just shows you some enhancements that'll be available to us to alert through emergency alerting functionality, and how that might look on the homepage. So I hope you'll share, and I look forward to sharing with you in the near future a working prototype of this, but I hope you share, at least in our preliminary optimism, that with Revise's support and expertise, coupled with those enhancements, technology enhancements that you saw earlier this evening, that we're on the right path to providing more intuitive, accessible, user-friendly interface. And so where do we go from here? Some next steps, we anticipate within the next couple of weeks that content migration will begin, that we will start to bring information over to a working prototype. We'll be able to clean that content up, which would include content, images, links. From there, we'll engage in some staff training on the new content management system, which is the backend support access to manage our content and documents. And we're very much still in line with a launch of the site in early 2021 rather. But we'll have greater clarity on that as we proceed over these next several weeks. So with that, I'd be happy to take any preliminary questions. Like I said, we're very excited about the current status of the design, but certainly still some work to be done as we look to roll out not just the website, but these other enhancements as well. So very exciting time. And just want to quickly recognize too, our communications manager, Susan Banks, and our administrative intern, Layla Werner, have been doing the yeoman's work, working with Revise to organize us to this point. So, but certainly takes a team, and we're looking forward to presenting this further as we approach the new year.
Very good. Questions and comments? Well done, Mike. Well done, Susan, everyone. It's beautiful. So well done. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike, and to Jim for those presentations, and appreciate all the feedback from the council as well. Good for us to hear. One last informational item I have, and I'm actually going to ask Public Works Director Mike Thomas to join us on the screen here, is just an update regarding the Deer Path 41 project. We have good news to report in terms of a time frame for that project. It's aggressive enough that there may be some visible activity at the site prior to our next council meeting in early December. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for Mike to provide the council and the community with a brief update.
Thank you, City Manager Wisha, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. Good evening, residents at home. We do have some good news. We had a conference call, pre-construction meeting with IDOT last week regarding the Deer Path 41 project. The good news is that their contractor, Berger, was awarded the contract on October 27th. They signed the contract on November 5th. Technically, in the world of IDOT, contractors are expected to begin within 10 days of signing the agreement. So they're going to meet that by having a meeting on site with us tomorrow afternoon with their tree removal company, Homer, who's done all the work on the East Skokie drainage ditch and has done a lot of tree work around town. But we'll be discussing with them the next steps, and we actually foresee the tree removal at the corner of Ahwahnee and Deer Path to begin in short term, and subsequent after that, they will begin the pond excavation. Susan Banks, our communications manager, is going to be joining us at the meeting, so she'll be taking a lot of notes. We'll be asking for schedules from Berger, and as soon as we have those dates, we will obviously share it with yourselves and the residents at home. But the good news is, I think we're there. I think we're getting ready to start, and we're going to see a lot of activity. So I can't wait for that viaduct not to be flooded. A couple of years still, but we're going to get there. So,
Jason or Mike, would it be appropriate to put some kind of a billboard sign there alongside the road so that people who don't visit our city council meetings know what's going on?
We can look at doing something like that. One of the things I want to caution yourselves and the residents at home, this project is 100% run by the state. They not only have their engineers and managers and supervisors on site, they also have hired Civil Tech for phase 3 construction engineering. So they are going to have a lot of people on site, and essentially what we were told is they have all their rules that they obviously need to follow, and they have signage requirements. So you will begin to see signage being put up, and I hate saying this, but we're going to see it for 2 years. They have got requirements that signs be a certain number of feet from the beginning of the project, and they'll be up on Deer Path, and they may not be sightly, but I hate saying we're not going to have a whole lot of say in it. We're not. This is their project. They're picking up the tab, and we've got to follow their rules. So, but
Great.
we're excited that it's going to be starting very soon.
And, you know, one thing I'll note, Alderman Morris, just to piggyback on that, or to acknowledge your point about the limited viewership we might have at tonight's council meeting. Staff is developing an FAQ sheet to really answer most questions people could have about the project. And then we will be pushing out through our e-news and Constant Contact platforms links to direct people to that FAQ document. So we're going to try to get the word out to everybody before they start seeing the construction activity, so they know it's coming, rather than just waiting to field the phone calls after the fact. So that may be sent out obviously as soon as this week.
Great. Questions or comments? Anyone? Well, good news, Mike. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes my report for the evening.
Okay, well, then we're going to take a bit of a break and give the residents who may have a question for the council to come into the conversation. So at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button that you can use. And I think we're going to show the phone number, which I'll just read out, is 847-810, there it is, 3643. So if anyone out there would like to address a question to us, please use one of those vehicles.
Mayor Pro Tem Morris, we have no calls at this time.
All right, thank you very much. Then we'll move on to our committee reports, and we're going to ask Director Holub to come back again and take up the consideration of an ordinance establishing the 2020 tax levy, which is the first reading. So, Director Holub.
Thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem Morris. We're gonna provide a summary this evening. This is the fourth time in about a month that you've considered the 2020 property tax levy. The detailed schedules were included in your packet, but this is just a summary of some of the key points related to the tax levy. As you know, current projections provided by the Lake County Assessor's Office is that we're going to see about a 1.13% decline in our citywide assessed valuation, which does get factored in with the tax levy in developing the tax rate included on the tax bills next year. The Lake County Assessor's Office estimates new construction growth of $8.8 million associated with this levy. Each year, taxing districts have the opportunity to add new construction growth to the tax levy without hindrance of the tax cap. It only is effective in the first year that that property is added to the tax rolls. That new construction growth based on current forecasts results in about $116,000 in the tax levy extension related to new growth. That is shared between the general corporate fund levy and the library operating levy based on the pro rata portion of those levies to the total. And just for purpose of a budget comparison, general fund expenses, the largest fund of the city is the general fund, includes many of the city departments and personnel, 56% of that budget is funded by property taxes. So property taxes are a very significant revenue source for the city's operations. Included within that general fund budget, 74% of the expenses in any given year in the general fund are personnel related. So either salaries, wages, compensation, or employee benefits are about 3/4 of the total of the general fund budget. In looking towards the FY22 budget, which will be the budget in which the 2020 tax levy is included, about $182,000 is required for each 1% of salary increase for personnel included within the general fund. And as you know from capital discussions, both in September as well as last Monday, we are in FY22 moving some recurring capital expenses away from the capital fund to free up more of those funds for individual single capital projects, and moving those recurring capital expenses back to the operating budget. So in FY22, the general fund budget will be absorbing about $900,000 in recurring capital expenses previously budgeted in the capital fund. The slide here just summarizes, this table is also included in the item write-up in the packet, but this just provides an overall summary of the total tax levy recommended for City Council consideration this evening. A couple items to note: the 2 lines in yellow show significant increases related to pension fund levies. This is related to police and fire, public safety pension costs. And just as a reminder for the public who may be watching or view this at a later time, the city is in the process of phasing in a more fiscally sustainable funding model for public safety pension costs. Right now, we are following the red line, and we are looking at phasing in the blue line, which is a 15-year open amortization model. And when we reach that crossover point, we will switch to the 15-year open amortization and not see the significant increases each year that we're currently seeing in those levy requirements. Also highlighted in blue is the city general corporate levy and recreation and parks levies. Just as a reminder, these are the percentage change, and the dollar change is related mostly to a $435,000 shift in tax levy expenses that are going to be moving in FY22 out of the general fund and into the Parks and Recreation Fund. So those percentage and dollar changes look a little off, but that is because of that transition. You'll see this total city tax levy included at the first subtotal. Proposed increase is a 3.97% increase over the extended levy for 2019. A dollar change of about 1.3 million, and you can see where those dollars are allocated by purpose. Because of the city charter, the School District 67 tax levy is included in the city's property tax levy ordinance, but that is estimated and subject to the school board consideration and approval of their tax levy. It is not subject to the city's approval, simply must be incorporated in the tax levy ordinance of the city. So you can see the grand total, and then if you back out the bond funds under the general levy, the net amount of $68,609,582 is the total of the property tax levy ordinance presented for your consideration this evening. The bond funds are allocated when the original bond issues are levied, and those create a property tax levy schedule to pay off the bond principal and interest, and you'll have a related item to this levy on your agenda immediately following this one. We have received a request. As you know, the levy for the city and the library levy combined represents about 25% of the total tax bill. And in previous meetings, we've presented to you the projected impact on an average household of the city's levy. You see that on this slide broken up between the city levy and the library levy, dollar change, percentage change, and then the estimated impact to the tax bill totaling $132 on an average household of $800,000 property in Lake Forest. Of course, we have other taxing districts that also levy taxes against property in the city of Lake Forest. The chart up at the top right shows that in a pie chart. The school districts combined are about 52% of the total. Lake County is 11%, and then we have a few smaller taxing districts that combine to account for about 12% of the levy. At a request from Alderman Rummel, we've reached out to the other overlapping taxing districts to get their projected levies for the FY20 or the 2020 property tax levy. You can see the Lake County numbers and both school districts listed here with the proposed dollar change, percentage change, and again, a very rough estimate of the impact on the average household of 800,000. Of course, keeping in mind that that estimated impact will change depending on the change in assessed valuation within that tax district. So for example, Lake County is a much broader assessed valuation than the city is. And so their estimated impacts may be fluctuating based on the assessed valuation changes within the districts, but it gives you a little bit of an idea of what impact we might see on an average household in Lake Forest for, again, about 88%, I guess, of the total levy. And we'll continue to reach out for this information. And then when we come back to you on December 7th, we may have a complete schedule. But again, the larger districts are included here to give you an idea. So the action requested from the City Council this evening is to grant first reading to the 2020 property tax levy ordinance. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council? If
I'll
not,
just chime in and thank Elizabeth for that information. I think it's very helpful. You know, we don't levy in isolation, or at least we shouldn't. And I would hope that if there were a call for it, we would collaborate with other taxing districts in a given year. If there were a real need in, say, one district, that we might communicate with one another and adjust our tax levies in any given year. So that's why I asked for that information, and I think it's so important. So, you know, if I'm reading that chart correctly, overall, it looks like there might be, at this point, about a $300 increase in the average homeowner's tax bill this year thus far. So I just think that's valuable information to have. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
very good. Other comments?
Elizabeth, this is Jim Preschlack. I don't recall what slide it was, but first of all, I'm very supportive of this in terms of directing the recurring CapEx from our capital improvement project fund to our general fund. And I think there was one other out allocation to Parks and Rec. And I'm just kind of wondering how we communicate those policy changes. I know the rating agencies are very smart and they understand, you know, just from a total reserve perspective, kind of where we are to policy. But I'm just kind of wondering if we have different targets, both statutorily or just what we're trying to manage to at the general fund because of that shift, and then how we just provide a united face to make sure that all the rating agencies, or the single one that we use, if it's Moody's, to just make sure that, you know, these are changes that net are not substantive in terms of our financial position, but just changes in our policy, and we're still very, you know, prudent and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. It'd be a nice just way to learn more about kind of your world for the group. So appreciate you answering that. Thank you so much.
Sure, no problem. That's a great question, Alderman Preschlack. But I would say generally Moody's would be very favorable about this change, because what it is it's moving a recurring expense to an operating budget rather than reflecting it in a capital budget where you know, budgetary constraints can result in deferrals of capital expenses. And it really focuses you know, on the city's intent to maintain these as recurring, ongoing operating expenses of those individual operations rather than in a capital budget. So I think the change would be a favorable one with Moody's.
Thank you.
If there are no other comments, I would entertain a motion to grant first reading of an ordinance establishing the 2020 tax levy.
So moved.
Second.
The roll call.
Second.
Roll
Roll call.
vote. Biddy?
Alderman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Karas,
Aye.
Alderman Rommel,
Aye.
Alderman Notes,
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack,
Aye.
Alderman Gashgarian,
Aye.
Alderman Bushman,
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
8 yay, 0 nay, motion carries.
Thank you, Biddy. Director Haupt, don't go away. The next item is the approval of an ordinance as you mentioned, abating the 2020 tax levies for various GO alternate revenue bond issues for the first reading.
Thank you again. So I alluded to the bond fund net levy in the property tax levy presentation on the earlier slide. This is how we get to that number. So as I mentioned, when the city issues bonds, there is a property tax levy schedule included as part of the bond ordinance, and that gives direction to the county clerk's office the amount of property taxes to levy on the city's behalf every year to pay the debt service. The city of Lake Forest traditionally has issued all of its debt as general obligation debt because it has a AAA bond rating with Moody's Investor Service and allows the city to obtain the lowest possible interest rate through that financing. With that being said, it isn't the intent on many bond issues to pay for the debt service with property tax levy revenue. Instead, there are specific revenue sources intended to pay the debt service on a portion or all of the bonds. So this schedule provides you the summary. The four outstanding issues that the city has currently is the 2013, 2015, 2017, and 2019 issues, the 2019 being the significant bond refunding that the city council approved in December of 2019. So you can see that the total levy per county records would be 5.1 million, and then they traditionally add a 1% loss in cost to that when they extend the levy to ensure that no taxing district is left short of revenue as a result of non-payment of property taxes. So, and then to the columns to the right, you can see that there's TIF revenue, golf course revenue, water utility revenue, and home rule sales tax revenue that is intended to pay a portion of all the debt service on the 15, 2017, and 2019 issues. So this chart just shows the amount of the abatement or reduction of the debt service levy for each issue by the source of funds to get us to the net levy of $1,829,087.50, which was included in your tax levy schedule in the previous item. So included in your packet and recommended by staff is for the city council to grant first reading. 2 ordinances, there are 3 ordinances abating debt service levy for 2015, 2017, and 2019 GO bond issues. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions from the council.
Questions from the council? Pretty technical stuff there, so it's hard to ask many questions, but good job. Questions? If not, then I would entertain a motion to grant first reading of the ordinances abating tax levies for the various general obligation bond issues.
So moved.
So moved.
Second? Margaret, Biddy, we need a
Certainly.
roll call.
Alderman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Karas,
Aye.
Alderman Rommel,
Aye.
Alderman Notes,
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack,
Aye.
Very good.
Alderman Bushman,
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
A on a motion from Alderman Rommel, seconded by Alderman Weber for the ordinances abating tax levy.
Was passed. With that, I think we move on to another member of the finance team, Diane Hall, who's going to talk to us about consideration of an ordinance approving fee schedule and ordinances adopting new fees, which is a first reading for tonight.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. Tonight's information was presented at the capital budget meeting held last week. Next slide. Okay, this slide shows a summary of all the proposed changes. And included in your packet are the new ordinances for any changes to new fees, and general information provided by staff describing the requested changes and different information on the new fees. This slide shows the department requesting the change, a description of the changed fee, and the fund that the revenue will affect, and whether it's a changed fee, and the estimated revenue provided by staff. And in the fee schedule, it's color coordinated to show the different types of changes. The green changes are prior approved fees, whether approved at a different city council meeting or provided by code changes. New fees are highlighted in orange, and yellow changes to fees are highlighted in yellow, just to make it a little bit easier to show which ones have changed. Next slide. Also is proposed a reduction to a fee for geothermal and power fees, just to promote more sustainable projects. It's just going to be encouraging owners to think of different options before they present their projects. Currently, there's only a few projects each year, so it affects very nominal on revenue projections. Next slide.
So Director Holub here, taking over for water rates. We were asked to provide a little bit more information when we discussed these last Monday. So just as an overview, the water and sanitary sewer utility of the city is an enterprise fund. And what that means is that it gets no tax allocation dollars, no subsidies from other general sources of revenue from the city. And so the fees assessed for water and sanitary sewer must be sufficient to cover operating costs as well as capital costs of the utility. We use a rolling 5-year consumption used for budget forecasting. And we have a blended rate in the utility, both for water and sanitary sewer, that has a fixed charge per quarter for each account based on water meter size. And then we have a variable charge assessed on the consumption for the quarter. And then the residential rate structure is tiered based on variable consumption charges. So there's a tier 1 rate for the first 10,000 gallons. There's a second tier rate for 11,000 to 60,000 gallons in a quarter. And then a tier 3 rate for any consumption above 60,000 gallons for the quarter. And then in our long-term financial forecast for the utility, we assume a 2.5% increase in annual revenue to support inflationary cost increases associated with the utility. As we've discussed the last few years in budget discussions, water consumption is declining. It's not a Lake Forest phenomenon. It's happening everywhere, which is why I've included some samples of articles associated with that. And so using that rolling 5-year average, you can see on the chart in the left, this was the average consumption, the rolling 5-year average consumption for each of these budgets, FY15 through FY21. And then the current 5-year rolling average that we're using for FY22 rates estimated. And you can see that this is actually the first year since fiscal year 2015 that we're actually projecting an increase in water consumption, although it is a very moderate increase. So what tends to happen is with declining consumption, that's driving up the water rates more than the 2.5% in projected revenue in order to generate the required revenue increase to operate the utility. This comparison just shows the water schedule, both the FY21 rates and the FY22 recommended rates. You can see that there are no changes proposed for the fixed rates this year. We did make an adjustment last year, but no changes in those quarterly fees proposed for FY22. And then with the variable consumption rates, you can see the adjustments. We've recommended no adjustment to the first 10,000 per quarter. This is really geared towards the low consumption users who end up with a disproportionate effect of the fixed rate over a small amount of consumption each year. So we have tried to hold this first 10,000 gallons constant for a few years to offset that. And then we show some modest increases for the tier 2 and tier 3 for residential, as well as the all other. So the all other, any non-residential accounts simply pay the same variable rate for all consumption in the quarter. We talk about the fixed to variable projection in regards to revenue and expenses. The anomaly in the water utility is that only about 20 to 22% of the revenue is generated from the fixed rate, but about 80% of the costs of the utility are fixed in nature and will not fluctuate based on, declines in consumption. And so we have generally tried over the last several years to gradually increase the proportion of the fixed revenue as a comparison to the full revenues of the utility. So you can see we're projecting to end FY21 at about 22% fixed, 78% variable, and as proposed, based on the 5-year rolling average, it would be again about 22% fixed, 78% variable. And then the last few lines simply show this is actually annual impact for these types of consumers. So a low usage residential is only projected to increase annual costs of 74 cents for the entire year. Again, keeping that fixed rate and that variable up to 10,000 per quarter constant is the reason why there's very small impact there. Medium usage residential, which is the majority of our accounts, about 4,500 out of the total 6,400. Would see an increase of about $25 or 1.6% for the year in their water fees. High usage residential, an impact of about $101 for the year. And then we have 2 commercial, both high usage and average usage. High usage commercial impact of about $650 and average usage for commercial about $142. So as a percent, only 0.16% up to 2.05% in impact on an annual basis projected with the proposed fees for FY22. So we would recommend and request City Council consideration to grant first reading of the ordinance approving the fee schedule as summarized by Diane and included in your packet, as well as 3 ordinances adopting fees that were included on the summary schedule.
Okay. Questions from the council, comments? If not, well done, Diane. Thank you very much. If there aren't any, I would entertain a motion to grant first reading for the proposed ordinances related to fee schedules and new fees. First reading.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Can I just make one comment now that it's been if I'm correct in my numbers here, and Elizabeth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from the last, from the tax levy increase, we're talking over $300 in a tax levy increase, and then this is another average $142, right? So really combined in these last 2 presentations, the average homeowner is looking at an increase of what, about $460, a little more, with those 2, with the levy and the water bill combined, right?
If they are a high usage. So that 142, Alderman Rummel, was the average usage for a commercial.
Okay.
And then if you have, probably the best comparison is the medium usage residential, because 4,500 out of 6,500 or so residential accounts would only see a $25 impact for the year. Only the high usage residential would see the $101 projected increase.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I just like to always sort of look at what's the impact
Yep,
to
overall.
to me as a resident and as a representative for the residents across the city. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Very good. Lydia, I think you can go forward with the roll call for the motion.
Thank you. Alderman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Karas,
Aye.
Alderman Rummel, Alderman Notes,
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack,
Aye.
Alderman Kashkarian,
Aye.
Alderman Bushman,
Aye.
and Alderman Weber. 8 yea, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. Well, we come close to the end of the meeting. We'll continue with the omnibus vote consideration. And there are 6 items that were in your packet, so I'll just read through these for everybody. The first one is approve the extension of the mayor's declaration of local state of emergency until the next city council meeting. Number 2 is approval of the November 2nd, 2020 city council meeting minutes. Third was consideration of an ordinance amending the City of Lake Forest Liquor Code to increase the number of licenses available in Class C1, first reading, and if appropriate, final approval. Number 4 was consideration of a staff recommendation to award a proposal to Imperial Surveillance Incorporated for the purchase of 2 security surveillance systems for the East and West Metro train stations in the amount of $44,928 with a 10% or $4,492 contingency. The 5th one, consideration of an ordinance approving a recommendation from the Historic Preservation Commission, is in your packet for first reading and if desired by the City Council, final approval. And the last and 6th is request City Council approval to purchase a new police vehicle replacing the existing unit that had been involved in an accident and determined to be a total loss to Curry Motors in the amount of $33,802. Is there any item that the council would like to discuss in detail or take out for separate consideration?
Mayor Pro Tem Morris, could I have some questions? Ask some questions. I'm not asking for removal from the omnibus agenda.
I'll let our city manager probably answer the question, but go ahead.
Okay, the first question relates to the liquor code amendment, increasing the C1 class from 8 to 9, and I believe the applicant you're looking at is Egg Harbor. Could you please summarize what the liquor services are authorized under a C1?
Sure. Actually, I will have City Clerk Biddy Boyer answer that question. But you are correct. It is for Egg Harbor.
Good evening, Alderman Bushman. The C1 license would authorize Egg Harbor to serve a full liquor, beer, wine, and spirits, Bloody Marys to mimosas. They would still fall in line with everyone else who still has a C1 liquor license.
Are there any time restrictions on a C1 license?
The time restrictions on current liquor licensing is the same across the board, no matter what liquor license you have. So liquor sales, I believe, end at midnight, no matter what. I don't believe that they are open that late, but it's just something new that they're trying to see if that is something that will work out with their restaurant.
Okay, thank you. Next question I had related to the next agenda item, the 2 security camera surveillance systems with Imperial Surveillance, Inc. Are they going to be doing the installation, or is that something being handled internal in terms of this contract?
Sure, and I'll ask Chief of Police Carl Waldorf to address any questions on the camera project.
Hey, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, Carl.
Yeah, so it's going to be done mostly by the vendor, although building maintenance is going to be assisting, particularly on the east side. And the reason for that is We're attempting to do the best job we can in hiding those cameras on the east side to preserve the architectural significance of the building. Obviously, it was just recently restored. And so our building maintenance is going to be working with them very closely to make sure that the cameras that are installed are as small as possible and as, I guess, as discreet as possible inside the structure themselves.
Okay, so that does include the systems we're buying, includes installation or install
Yes.
basis. That's
Yep.
very good. Thank you.
On both sides. No, thank you.
Thank you. The last question, maybe it's going to be for you, Chief Waldorf, but the police vehicle, though it's more of a numbers thing, the council is being asked to approve $33,802 for the new vehicle. But as I understand it, because it was involved in an accident, it's covered by insurance, we're being reimbursed 24,000 some odd dollars of that, which means a net loss to the city of 9,774. Why is the city being asked to approve the $33,000 amount versus the net loss to the city?
Well, essentially, we can only buy a newer car to replace that car, but the insurance is likely to only give us the value of the car that was lost, which is 2 years old with about half of its life expired. So that's the real reason.
Okay, well, I guess it's maybe the write-up and maybe it's more for the finance folks as to how we're being asked to approve. Because do I understand correctly from the write-up that the cost of the new vehicle is $33,802, but we are receiving compensation for the damaged vehicle in the amount of $24,028. So our loss to the city at this juncture, recognizing there's still a subrogation claim for the difference, isn't our impact just this 9,774?
Alderman Bushman, yes, that is the net outlay for the city. However, we have to show the insurance proceeds as a revenue, and then we have to show the full cost of the new vehicle as an expense. So from an appropriation standpoint, we need approval for the full $33,802.
Okay.
Oh, you are correct that as a net to the city, it's just going to be the difference.
I understand, to justify the insurance claim that we're making. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very good. If there are no other questions or comments, I request a motion to approve the omnibus items presented.
So moved.
Second? Okay, I think we need a roll call.
Alderman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Karas,
Aye.
Alderman Rummel,
Aye.
Preschlack. Let's see.
Aye.
Alderman Gushgarian,
Aye.
Alderman Bushman,
Aye.
and Alderman Weber.
Aye.
A 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. We don't have much more. There are no new ordinance for consideration. I don't have any old business on the schedule. Are there any questions, comments, discussions from the council members?
Mayor Pro Tem Morris, I do have a comment to make. I'm just here to, again, invite everyone to sign up for Community Solar. This is a great way to save 20% on your energy bill. I mean, there's just no downside to this program. 6 North Shore communities teamed up to form this business that's involved in community solar to provide equitable access to green energy and reduce your energy bill in the meantime by as much as 20% a year. For the average household, that's about $132 a year in savings. It's easy to sign up for. It's green energy. I encourage everybody to go to the city website and look for the Green Energy Initiative and sign up for it. You will be placed on a waiting list and hopefully hear toward the end of the year more details about the program. But it does have a limited number of subscribers, and we have Northbrook, Skokie, Lake Forest, Deerfield, Highland Park, and Lake Bluff who are participating in this. I understand we've already had a certain number of residents sign up. but we're lagging behind Deerfield. And I know we want to be number one in terms of numbers of residents who sign up for this program and get the subscription so they can save 20% on their electrical bill. So this is a call out to go to our website and sign up for this program, or you can put in your search bar mc2energyservices.com/il/community-solar, and that will take you to their website. Every resident should have already received a postcard in the mail that was sent out the end of October. And now you can actually sign up for those subscriptions and be put on the waiting list. So it's a great thing to do. You're saving money. There's no downside to this at all. It won't impact, it's not a lot of rigmarole to go through to change your account. It's provided through ComEd. So you're not actually changing any of your billing directly. So there's just no downside to it. So I'm again pushing it and hoping that you'll all sign up for it. So that's my PSA for the evening. Thank you.
Very good. All right, we've reached the end of the evening. So if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will move.
So
Seconded.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Right.